I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Hey gang, Jesse Shade of Awfully Good Movies here, and I think my thoughts on this past year can best be summed up by one D. Reynolds.
You guys, it's 2021, all bets are off, okay?
Indeed, all bets were off in 2021, but the biggest advantage that this year had over 2020 was putting that sweet vaccine into our veins and heading back to the movie theater. Because neither Delta or Omicron or their future buddy cop show could stop us from seeing all the delayed movies from 2020 flow into theaters like the Avengers at the end of Endgame. But with many movies also getting simultaneous streaming releases in 2021, that opens a whole new opportunity for this year's list of the top 10 worst movies of the year. Now we can have movies compete for our worst movies poll at the end of the year on JoBlo.com from all sorts of places. Netflix, Disney+, BET+, HBO Max, plus Ultra. All bets are off! And then I narrowed down the final list by adding the IMDb and Rotten Tomato scores for each of the top 20 movies, and dividing those sums by the percentage of readers who voted for each film, thus creating a top 10 list that does not represent those who only vote for a movie because it's popular to hate on and it was all they saw this year. That is why Halloween Kills and Venom Let There Be Carnage will be left off the ballot. Neither of them are incredible movies, but they are not worst of the year material by any metric. There were 2 Nicolas Cage movies on the ballot this year, people, so the sight of Venom entering the MCU cannot possibly be the worst film of this or any year. Stop yelling at people on the internet over stupid things. Yelling is Nicolas Cage's job, goddammit!
Sorry.
So without further ado, JoBlo.com and Awfully Good Movies present our list of the top 10 worst movies of 2021.
I'm sick of this bullshit!
Thanks for watching Awfully Good Movies. If you enjoy our shows, please subscribe to our channel right now, like this video, and click on the bell so you can be notified each time a new video goes up. Now, back to the show. Number 10, Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. Back in the 80s, nothing made kids more proud to be an American than Hasbro's line of G.I. Joe toys, and its Saturday morning cartoon series. But sadly for all the success that Hasbro's had with making movies from the Transformers, they have not reached the same heights with their G.I. Joe movie adaptations. Sure, The Rise of Cobra and Retaliation both made decent profit, but when even The Rock thinks your action franchise is too stupid to continue with, then it's time to give these real American heroes a reboot. And thus Hasbro began anew with a movie focusing on the origin story for one of the most beloved characters in G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes, the mute ninja commando who fends off Cobra's men with hand-to-hand combat. But seeing as you can't make a movie star out of a character who's famous for having no face or voice, Snake Eyes' origin story would involve him once having the face and voice of Henry Golding, the suave British hunk who recently had a breakout performance in Crazy Rich Asians. With Golding's Snake Eyes starting out as a martial arts fighter and hired by a wealthy Yakuza boss who is secretly aligning with the evil terror of Cobra!
Cobra? I have morons on my payroll!
Yet while Golding was able to pull off plenty of impressive martial arts choreography, the movie's cameras insisted on filming these fights in close-up shaky cam. How can you tell who is fighting who here? I think the biggest fight going on in this movie is the editor and cinematographer versus the viewer's short attention span. Also, the movie script awkwardly forced in plenty of references to Snake Eyes' future organization, with Samara Weaving dropping by in the role of Scarlet just to set up shit for the sequel that is never going to happen. So with the movie's reviews being negative and its theatrical attendance affected by the COVID resurgence, it's safe to say that Snake Eyes has indeed rolled up a Snake Eyes, and that Hasbro's renewed focus on the Transformers will keep G.I. Joe from kicking terrorist ass on the big screen. Paramount should have listened to my aggressive social media campaign to instead give us an origin movie for The Fridge and Sergeant Slaughter.
Watch out, Cobra. Fridge is coming through.
Yo, Joe!
Number 9, Tom and Jerry, the movie. Truly no fight in our country can live up to the 80-year grudge match between Tom the Cat and Jerry the Mouse, the mute cartoon animals who have been fighting on the big and small screen since 1940, and creating plenty of classic comedies since. Of course, not every Tom and Jerry product has been quality, particularly all of these Warner Brothers properties that they keep forcing them into. Willy Wonka, Wizard of Oz, Joker. Oh, that one was really funny. And since I still haven't recovered from the childhood trauma of hearing them speak and sing in that 1992 piece of shit, perhaps Warner Brothers can give us a true Tom and Jerry movie instead of rolling production on Tom and Jerry and the Black Messiah. A movie which will feature the animated cat and mouse duking it out in New York City alongside live-action actors, in the style of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. A technique that was actually pioneered by Jerry Mouse in the Gene Kelly musical Anchors Aweigh. Sadly, all comparisons to far better movies will end here, because this movie is closer in spirit to Dunstan Checks In. You know, that 90s kids movie where an orangutan invaded a hotel and ate Faye Dunaway's face? Yeah, this is the same plot, but with a cat and a mouse instead of a monkey. And with Chloe Grace Moretz playing a down-on-her-luck woman, trying to make it as a hotel employee by arranging some kind of wedding?
Look, elephant!
What the fuck is this plot? This is just like how that other Tom and Jerry movie revolved around an orphan kid looking for her dead parents, instead of on the cat and mouse. But instead, these shitty musical numbers have now been replaced by 3 pigeons lip-syncing to A Tribe Called Quest.
Can I kick it? Can I kick it?
So while this still isn't the Tom and Jerry movie that I wanted as a kid, it might be what kids of today's generation want, as it made over $130 million even with its simultaneous release on HBO Max, where a new Tom and Jerry cartoon show continues focusing on their Big Apple adventures. Hey, as long as that show doesn't feature Michael Pena doing a silly Mexican accent, then I hope that Tom and Jerry will keep us laughing for generations to come, without resorting to actually making a droopy Joker movie. How about another joke, Mary? Number 8. Karen. Just when American woman named Karen got over the damage done to their name by Lorraine Bracco's character in Goodfellas, along comes all these angry Caucasian ladies caught on social media in the past few years, calling the police and/or manager on suspicious-looking characters.
It's Karen. Karen White.
And BET was the one studio shameless enough to make a movie to capitalize on the Karen phenomenon. If you can call it a phenomenon, that is. But if you give this story to an expert black filmmaker like Jordan Peele or Spike Lee, who can masterfully weave narratives of racism with, oh, never mind, we got Coke Daniels, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Coke Daniels and creme brulee. I'm shocked to say that Coke Daniels was not the satirical genius that this concept needed, and the appropriately shrill performance of Taryn Manning as our titular Karen, literally named Karen, who crosses wits with a black couple moving into her neighborhood, made this alleged human being come off more like a supernatural demon who subsists on the fear of black people and eats puppies in her downtime.
There she is, slaving away in the kitchen.
And seeing as Coke Daniels also wrote and directed such masterpieces as Who Made the Potato Salad and Gangsta Rap the Glockumentary, you can be rest assured that his dialogue sounds nothing like how actual human beings talk to one another, except on Twitter.
You are a strong, beautiful, intelligent, and woke black man.
Message!
Oh, did I mention that Karen's brother here happens to be a cop? I wonder if this hard-pressing issue will also be handled with the subtlety of a rabbi performing a bris with a jackhammer. No matter how good or foul its intentions really were, Karen is a cheap exploitation of real-life tragedy that neither contributes to our national dialogue nor serves as an entertaining movie. You know, Ernest Goes to School was also directed by a guy named Coke. If only Jim Varney had lived to make Ernest vs. Karen, Dawn of Golly Bob Howdy a reality.
Get the fuck out of here, you motherfucker!
Number 7. Thunder Force. Superheroes, superheroes, superheroes. Everywhere you go, you got superheroes. And even though they can no longer make Marvel shows, Netflix can show those pussies up at Disney Plus with their own streaming superhero property that would fail immediately out of the gate against its far better competition. But enough about Jupiter's Legacy. I'm actually talking about Thunder Force, the latest cinematic equivalent of making out with your girlfriend in the middle of a Christmas party that I like to call director Ben Falcone and his wife/star Melissa McCarthy. Every time that these two are involved in a movie, it nearly gets voted onto my worst list. The love that these two have for each other is not reflected in their work together, especially now that Ben Falcone's directing his wife as another accident-prone clumsy pants, who bungles her way into getting injected with some super serum made by her old childhood friend and current scientist played by Octavia Spencer, after which the two form an amateur superhero team in a world ridden with super-powered bad guys. Hey, both these ladies were made famous by taking a shit in a movie, so it was inevitable that they would act together in a shitty movie, where the only thing helping Thunder Force stick out amongst the far better superhero comedies is over 100 minutes of stale Melissa McCarthy improv.
Did I do that? Right? Did I do that?
Shut your fucking mouth!
And what are you doing here, Jason Bateman? Netflix has got you wearing crab hands now? We told you already, Hollywood. We don't want these two as a comedy duo. As I've said before, Melissa McCarthy is an incredible actress, be it drama or comedy, and both she and Octavia will be facing many more Oscar nominations to make up for Thunder Force's failure to strike lightning. At least Netflix has got that next season of Daredevil coming up to look forward to. Oh, wait. That's right.
The movies.
Number 6, F9, The Fast Saga. It's actually shocking to me that the Fast and Furious movies have never been voted onto one of these worst of lists until now. But hey, there's a first time for everything, as there was a 9th time for Dom Toretto and his family of super spy street racers. In 20 years, we've gone from these guys schlepping DVD players out of a truck to working for Kurt Russell in the field of international espionage. What a time to be alive indeed. And it was the 9th Fast adventure which helped the movie theater industry rise above the turbulent landscape this past summer, with Vin Diesel enticing plenty of wary filmgoers to go see it at
The movies.
instead of waiting for it on VOD. Nothing justifies Christopher Nolan's praise of the movie theater more than seeing Vin Diesel throwing punches in mid-air with John Cena, who in the same year that he entered the DC universe, also entered the Fast universe as Dom's estranged brother. Yes, they have a significant difference in age as well as ethnicity, but this is Fast and Furious, where logic comes to die. And even though the audiences came out to see it in droves, they were less willing to be wowed by all the ridiculous stunts which were all seen beforehand in the film's million trailers for its million release date changes. And having Han come back to the series in spite of clearly dying back in Tokyo Drift was a step too far, no matter how good it was to have him back. But by the time you have our heroes finally launching their cars into the recesses of space, after a decade of jokes about it happening in this increasingly ridiculous franchise, and your audiences merely respond with a collective, yep, that happened, then you may want to rethink where the series goes from here, as it faces its upcoming final 2 installments, with F10 set for release in 2023. My suggestion is that Dwayne Johnson take up Vin Diesel's offer to make nice and bring this bro back to the family.
You don't turn your back on the movies.
So that this franchise can end on a more thrilling note than F9. And additionally keep both of you muscleheads from pursuing your music careers.
Desecration, defamation, if you want to bring it to the masses, face to face, now we
Number 5, Dear Evan Hansen. In 2021, Broadway was back, and so were big screen adaptations of hit Broadway musicals, only half of which this year involved Lin-Manuel Miranda. In the other half, you had Dear Evan Hansen, the film version of the Broadway musical smash that swept the Tony Awards with its sympathetic take on the true story of a socially awkward teenager, whose therapeutic letter that he writes to himself is mistaken as one of his friend's suicide notes, after the friend tragically takes their life. But through contemplating his newfound popularity in song, Evan Hansen somehow garnered the audience's sympathy thanks to the original actor playing him on Broadway, Ben Platt, whose film producer dad just happened to be making the screen version of this musical, and needed someone in the lead role who could play it by heart. Despite Ben Platt now being a ripe 28 years old and needing both makeup and CGI de-aging effects to end up looking like a goddamn ghost child. I mean, he looks better than Mike Myers in The Love Guru, but what does that say? Nasim Pedrad in Chad is a more convincing teenage boy than dear Evan Hansen over here. Just like how Chris Columbus fucked the movie version of Rent by having its now 35 years old original cast members playing youngsters, Steven Chbosky fucks up the promising streak he had with The Perks of Being a Wallflower and Wonder by directing a Broadway adaptation with its way too old and not at all convincing Broadway actor. And while a plot as complex as this show's can sing on the stage, it feels absolutely phony and hokey in its movie adaptation, despite the best efforts of Julianne Moore and Amy Adams singing and acting their hearts out in the cast. Perhaps if those two had done some singing in The Woman in the Window, then maybe it would have been a better movie. Let's hope that Universal can learn a thing or two from this movie's failure before they roll cameras on their adaptation of Wicked. If that's successful, then we can redo Dear Evan Hansen with a more age-appropriate actor in the role.
Even if mean tweets come crashing through,
My career shattered on the ground.
Oh no, don't have Kevin Spacey pretend to be a teenage boy. That's not good. Number 4, Chaos Walking. Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland, the erstwhile Ray Skywalker and Peter Parker. Two pretty young people from Britain who were well on the come up when production began in 2017 on Chaos Walking, the adaptation of the first book in author Patrick Ness's Chaos Walking trilogy, which portrays a dystopian future where women have been driven extinct from Earth in the wake of a war. And when one woman lands on a planet full of all dudes, oh well, you know what's gonna happen. And Tom Holland's afflicted with a disease that makes others hear and see his thoughts? Well gosh, this plot sounds pretty interesting. Not like it sounds an awful lot like all the movies based off of young adult book series, which littered the theaters in the wake of the Hunger Games' success, and which were no longer popular by the time Chaos Walking finally got to film some reshoots in 2019 after poor test audience results, with Holland and Ridley barely squeezing the reshoots in among their commitments to Spidey and Star Wars, and director Doug Liman of Bourne Identity and Edge of Tomorrow being replaced for these reshoots by Don't Breathe's Fede Alvarez. And the final result that flopped with audiences and critics was a far cry from the script's original draft written by none other than Charlie Kaufman. Can we blame this movie on his brother Donald instead? Chaos Walking was a beyond generic and gloomy sci-fi vehicle which was just like every other sci-fi dystopia flick of the young adult persuasion, with Holland and Ridley able to do little with the material other than run and mope for the camera a lot. Not even the sight of Mads Mikkelsen in a Red Dead Redemption outfit was enough to make people give a shit about the first chapter of the Chaos Saga, leaving very little hope for either Holland or Ridley to return to make the final 2 chapters. Poor Tom Holland. I don't know if this poor guy's career is ever gonna recover from this flop. Number 3, Home Sweet Home Alone. Yes, I may have just torn this movie apart already for my Christmas special, but very few films this year were as lazy and cynical as the Home Alone franchise's 6th installment. The first to be made after Fox's acquisition by Disney and produced exclusively for its Disney Plus service. Surely putting the new Home Alone on the same home as The Mandalorian and Loki would lead to the first film in the series to live up to John Hughes and Chris Columbus's original holiday classics, especially with the movie being co-written by SNL's Mikey Day and directed by Oscar-nominated Borat screenwriter Dan Mazer. Unfortunately, Home Sweet Home Alone's biggest plot twist was also its big undoing, as the 2 house robbers this time, played by Ellie Kemper and Rob Delaney, are presented sympathetically, while the precocious abandoned child, played by Jojo Rabbit's Archie Yates, is seen as the bad guy. Not only does this plot reversal replace Home Alone's trademark Christmas spirit with a tinge of mean-spiritedness and fart jokes,
I
I'm sorry.
But it leaves you very little to root for in our barely fleshed out main characters. And while Disney is usually able to reboot franchises with their original actors returning, Home Alone 6 could not convince the middle-aged Macaulay Culkin to return for even a cameo as Kevin McAllister, leaving us to make do with a pointless reappearance from Devin Rattray as his brother Buzz. By the way, Devin Rattray update for you people, he was just arrested for assaulting his girlfriend at a fan con.
Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof.
So what a shock it was when original Home Alone director Chris Columbus slammed this new movie as a pointless redo, on top of the film's horrible reception from film critics and streaming audiences alike. Let us hope that Fox and Disney know better than to mess with the house that Kevin McAllister built, and that Home Sweet Home Alone won't leave audiences thirsty for more. You know what? I've changed my mind. Perhaps the Saw franchise is the true continuation of the Home Alone story.
Howdy do. This is Peter McAllister, the father.
Number 2, Cosmic Sin. Oh, Bruce Willis, what has become of you? 10 years ago you were doing good movies again, like Looper and Moonrise Kingdom, but now you've gone to the same direct-to-video purgatory as Steven Seagal, popping up for only 15 minutes in countless action and sci-fi cheapies to drunkenly mumble out a couple lines of dialogue.
Paranoia is second nature.
While leaving your action choreography to be performed by obvious stuntmen. And even by Bruce's lowered standards for quality, his recent turn in Cosmic Sin is perhaps a new career low not seen since Bonfire of the Vanities, as this film finds Willis reunited with Frank Grillo, his co-star from the 2018 movie Reprisal, despite the many bridges that Frank burnt between him and Willis during a Collider interview.
I blame Bruce Willis. It was a bunch of money for a very short period of time, which is why I think Bruce Willis did it.
I'll take you anytime, punk.
Well, good to see that Frank and Bruce, or rather Bruce's unconvincing stuntman, have put their differences aside for this flick, where the two men must save Earth not from a Texas-sized meteor, but rather an alien presence that's turning Earthlings into its mindless zombie slaves. Now, Bruce Willis vs. Aliens would be an awesome movie in 1997. But in 2021, the only people who give less of a shit about Cosmic Sin than Bruce are the visual effects artists. Look at this green screen, people. I've seen effects on TikTok more convincing than this. It's frankly pathetic to see Bruce Willis sinking this low, but as long as cheapo movie companies keep offering him big paychecks to put in the minimum of effort, he's gonna keep taking them, no matter how hard his career dies. Perhaps Bruce would be rejuvenated by hopping into the Fast Saga to replace The Rock. He could certainly make for a more convincing stuntman for Vin Diesel than any of Bruce's recent stunt doubles.
You've captured their stunt doubles! I'll take you anytime, punk.
And now, for the #1 worst movie of 2021, everybody get up. It's time to slam now. We got a real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam, A New Legacy. Yes, Space Jam, the 1996 family comedy that brought together basketball legend Michael Jordan and cartoon comedy legend Bugs Bunny for a game of basketball against some pesky aliens who want to enslave the Looney Tunes in their theme park at the behest of Danny DeVito.
This is a piece of shit.
As silly as it sounds in retrospect, this movie has lived on as one of the fondest memories for kids of the 90s. So now that 25 years have passed, how about we sully your nostalgia for Space Jam even worse than the singer of its theme song did?
Yo, killing me with this!
And thus Warner Brothers sought to make a new Space Jam for a new generation, starring the closest thing we have to a Michael Jordan-sized superstar in basketball today, LeBron James, who's teaming with Bugs to play against an evil algorithm played by Don Cheadle that has kidnapped LeBron's son inside of a virtual multiverse containing all the creative properties owned by Warner Brothers, even ones that come from R-rated movies which should not be watched by your film's target audience of 12-year-olds. But aside from this concept already being done by Warner Brothers recently in Ready Player One, it was also an obvious ploy for Warner Media to plug all the properties they had streaming on HBO Max, where Space Jam 2 was being streamed alongside its theatrical run. Now, certainly the first movie had plenty of shameless product placement.
Grab your Wheaties and your Gatorade and we'll pick up a Big Mac on the way to the ballpark.
But when your film's plot centers around the product that's selling, then that is just shameless.
And that's just really sad.
And though LeBron had people hoping he'd be a better actor than Jordan was after his great performance in Trainwreck, his performance here is like if the Nerdluck stole his acting talent in a basketball before filming.
I'm a ball player. You know, an athlete's acting, that never goes well.
No. Seriously?
That's terrible.
However, LeBron had plenty of help on defense from the movie's solid animation work, which occasionally brought back the charm of old Looney Tunes shorts, whenever it wasn't inserting Elmer Fudd into Austin Powers, or making a cringy Big Chungus reference, or having Porky Pig performing a fucking rap song.
It's Porky Pig, they call me P-Double.
Yeah.
I was famous before the internet. Since 1935, I've been getting respect.
Been so humiliated in all my life!
And let me not forget that the Monstars have been replaced here by even more real-life athletes acting terribly as evil avatar versions of themselves. Or that Zendaya has taken over the voice role of Lola Bunny, only to have her character doing less than she had in the first movie. You furries got mad over absolutely nothing. But with Space Jam's original target audience all grown up, and today's kids used to seeing characters crossing over with each other, none of the appeal of Space Jam or a Bill Murray cameo could be found in a new legacy. With its box office not even close to that of the original, and its mountains of merchandise soon to be found in a thrift store near you. But I'm sure that LeBron's continued success on the court and controversies on social media will help him forget the failure of JoBlo.com's worst movie of 2021. And no, bringing Pepe Le Pew back to the cast or increasing Lola Bunny's boob size wouldn't have made this movie the slightest bit better. Again, stop getting outraged about stupid things on the internet. Just for one day, people. Please!
That's all, folks.
I'm Jesse Shade for JoBlo.com, and thanks to all who cast their votes for the top 10 worst movies of 2021. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the JoBlo Originals channel. Tell all your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all our latest videos. We are an independent company that appreciates all of your support, and hope all of you have a far happier new year in 2022, where the first movie to be released this year is gonna be Amityville Karen?
I don't know, I have to call my supervisor.
Get the fuck out of here! The movies.
That's all, folks.